Gold Rush was defined by Rick Ness, a dedicated miner who beat the odds and made his own way in the harsh Alaskan wilderness. He then gone. No goodbye, no explanation. Fans were astonished, perplexed, and had one burning question. What actually happened to Rick Ness? Rick Ness's narrative begins without gold, starting with grit. Rick was a Midwesterner before heading to the Yukon or driving enormous equipment over mud and rock. His life was nothing like Gold Rush. Rick was born in Escanaba, Michigan, on March 5, 1981, into a close-knit working-class family. Early life was shaped by blue-collar ideals, hard work, tenacity, and mental toughness only a tiny industrial town can inculcate. Judy, his mother, raised him, and he was quite close to her. Father Big Rick Ness was also influential in his upbringing, an auto mechanic and outdoorsman who taught Rick work ethic, practical skills, and independence. Gold wasn't Rick's first goal. Music was his first love. Few realize he spent nearly a decade touring as a bassist for the 357-string band, but most know him for his tough mind, field personality. High-energy bluegrass band with raw sound and rough lyrics, the band played in Europe and the U.S. and developed a cult following. Rick made music his lifestyle, not just a career. But traveling finally took its toll. The long tours, uncertainty, and grind exhausted him. Rick craved discipline, challenge, and a clear reward for hard effort. Fortune struck gold then. Rick met Parker Schnabel at a Southeast Alaska music event. The two clicked immediately. Their relationship went beyond socializing to include similar beliefs. Parker, Gold Rush's rising star, recognized something special in Rick: motivation and openness to learning. Rick accepted Parker's invitation to join his crew despite his lack of mining experience. The first season was hard. Rick was thrown into the deep end with experienced miners and high expectations. He had to learn rapidly about machinery, gold recovery, and survival in the harsh Yukon environment. Despite blunders and struggles, he never gave up. Rick's adaptability and hard ethics set him aside from the start. Rick consistently performed well when driving a dozer, servicing equipment, and directing team members under duress, that he was more than muscle and could lead. After Parker and fans noticed, Rick became one of the crew's most trusted members. Rick's journey involved personal sacrifice. Months abroad ended fragile ties. He missed important events, holidays, and family time, especially with his mother Judy, whose health was deteriorating. He persisted, telling himself it was part of developing something bigger that would give him the freedom he wanted. Rick was ready to go alone after several great seasons under Parker's guidance. That choice was hard. It meant leaving Parker's security and facing the harsh realities of leading a staff, managing finances, and bearing full responsibility for every success or failure. But Rick saw it as a natural progression, wanted the challenge. He wanted to show himself and everyone watching that he could. Rick's first Gold Rush season as mine boss was hugely popular. His underdog narrative captivated fans. A man without mining experience commanding a motley group, pulling together equipment, and delving into one of the world's most dangerous jobs. Rick succeeded despite the odds. He made big money, earned respect from miners, and won over a huge audience by being authentic, accessible, and human. Pressure was rising behind the scenes. Running a mine was physically and emotionally hard. Rick was pulled in 100 directions, managing staff disagreements, equipment breakdowns, weather delays, and production goal stress. As opposed to Parker, there was no safety net. Every error cost him. Each gold ounce lost hurt his finances and pride. Throughout, something deeper was happening. Already strained, Rick's personal life cracked. Grief, family health issues, and balancing a public persona with private pain were his problems. In 2018, Judy, his loving mother, died, changing his life. He was devastated. She was his biggest supporter and emotional anchor, so losing her left a gap no gold haul could cover. Rick kept appearing for a time. The shift was spotted by fans before the show did. Rick seemed quieter, more burdened and distant. As swiftly as he rose, he vanished from the screen. In retrospect, his absence wasn't just a mining break. It was a silent plea for aid. Rick hit a wall. Years of stress, loss, and exhaustion had finally caught up with him. What distinguishes Rick Ness? He stood up. He quietly rebuilt, healed, and rethought his life goals in his absence. He knew fans were curious. He knew rumors spread. Instead of returning to prove a point, Rick did something braver. He contemplated himself. He set the groundwork for something stronger than gold, a real revival. Because Rick Ness' narrative was about resilience, not gold. After Rick Ness left Gold Rush, fans had more questions than answers. Why did he disappear at his peak? In his absence, what happened? And most importantly, was he okay? A man known for his determination and no-nonsense grit, the quiet was shocking. Rick's absence was briefly explained by Discovery Channel's editors in later episodes, but nothing could depict the intensity of his struggles behind closed doors. Undoubtedly, Rick Ness had hit his limit. After his mother's death, he tried to film, mine, and lead a team, but he was clearly emotionally exhausted. Rick faced more demons than grief. After years of tight scheduling, lengthy Yukon winters, and pressure to perform for millions of viewers, was intellectually and emotionally weary. Years later, Rick admitted to having anxiety and sadness, which were exacerbated by his seclusion. Gold Rush life, however attractive on TV, is cruel. Miners work 16-hour days in uncertain weather, risking danger, debt, and mechanical breakdown for months away from home. Rick carried all that for himself and his crew. He left filming and social media. Fans rumored Rick's disappearance, but his friends knew better. Instead of whirling, he sought calm. Rick paused running and performing for the first time in years and focused on his body, heart, and recovery. Rick largely lived off-grid during his absence. He visited his Michigan hometown to see relatives and friends. He reassessed his relationships, included a public breakup that made news. Rick rediscovers what matters away from the hubbub. Rick's story was always about rebuilding, not retreating. After months away from social media, Rick secretly reappeared to show fans his change. He posted non-promotional content. Instead, they were honest about sorrow, mental health, and slowing down. You may have to disappear to find yourself. Read one message. It took a while, but I'm getting better and returning. Come back he did. Rick returned to Gold Rush without arrogance, with newfound focus. He wasn't only digging for gold. It was a man burrowing out of darkness. The comeback was often harder than the climb. Rick had to regain fan and self-trust. He had to recruit new staff, obtain equipment, and handle the pressure of running a mining operation. But they witnessed a more grounded, self-aware, and honest man than ever before. He also made an effort to discuss his challenges. In a dramatic scene during his homecoming season, Rick said, "Those remarks resonated with fans who had overcome personal losses. Gold Rush became more than gold again. It concerned resilience's human cost." Rick also encouraged struggling males, especially blue-collar workers, to seek help. His honesty shifted mental health discussions in a show, a genre that rarely addressed such issues. His fragility only increased his admiration among admirers. Even as Rick rebuilt his life, mining challenges continued. Weather changed, equipment broke, and deadlines loomed. Throughout, Rick's demeanor altered, not his desire. He started mentoring his team instead of micromanaging. He made time to laugh, eat with the crew, and relish the moment, even when things went wrong. The audience noticed. The show's underdog became its heart. Outside the show, Rick tried new things. He considered starting a heavy equipment leasing firm to make his mining skills more solid. He also considered writing a memoir on goldfield life, grief, and healing. Many ways, Rick Ness is more than a miner or reality celebrity. Survivor, an emblem of second chances. As his journey continues, Rick said in a podcast interview, "I thought I had to be tough all the time, but genuine strength is knowing when to heal. Mining taught me a lot, but losing taught me more. I get to start a new chapter for TV and for myself with this Rick, who people have accepted for his flaws. More deeply, because ultimately, Rick Ness represents something we all confront: fall, quiet, and recovery. Rick Ness was a different guy when he returned to Yukon mining after Parker Schnabel haunted him. He returned with ambition, wounds, perspective, and a greater purpose. In a behind-the-scenes feature, he told a producer he didn't want to be the expert. "I want to show up, work, and learn from my mistakes." That humility was real. Rick assembled a youthful, hungry, and eager staff. Some of his early season buddies were gone, but new enthusiasm and admiration for Rick's journey replaced them. For many, working for a mine manager who had been there was appealing. Leadership and survival were his traits. His approach altered too. Rick prioritized sustainability over acceleration. He first fixed what he had before expanding. Que podrida. Every machine and plan was inspected. Though not glamorous, it was clever and paid well. By mid-season, his team was consistently winning gold, beating expectations despite setbacks. Breaking a weekly record wasn't the most telling moment. Rick told the crew by the campfire, "This win is ours." Ha ha. Every bolt was tightened and hour recorded. This is what happens when you dig with your heart, not just your hands. And viewers noticed online forums lit up with praise for his leadership. Fans who had once assumed he had burned out were now admiring his growth. Even former crew members reached out, offering support or simply saying they were proud. But perhaps the most moving development in Rick's return wasn't what he mined, but how he mined it. He had started to shift focus from the short-term gold tally to long-term legacy. In a particularly emotional episode, Rick was seen walking his claim alone at sunrise, reflecting on the land. "This place tried to break me," he said, "but maybe it also saved me." Rick began implementing better safety protocols, taking mental health seriously and opening space for his crew to talk. Something unheard of in many mining camps. One younger team member later shared, "I came here to learn about gold. I ended up learning how to take care of myself. The transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal too." Rick slowly re-entered public life. Interviews, podcast appearances, and even small speaking engagements followed. In one sit-down with a men's health podcast, he spoke candidly about grief, burnout, and the stigma around seeking help. "I was the guy who thought asking for help made you weak," Rick said. "Turns out not asking nearly killed me." That vulnerability resonated beyond the gold rush audience. Rick began to get letters, not from fans asking for autographs, but from men thanking him for speaking up. Former miners, veterans, single dads, people who felt seen for the first time. Rick started fundraising for mental health awareness, even talking about launching a non-profit to support mental health resources for laborers, truckers, and miners. Occupations where suicide and untreated depression are disproportionately high. But through all of this, Rick never lost sight of his roots. In his rare downtime, he spent more time in Michigan with friends and family. He visited his mother's grave regularly, often bringing updates and photos of the mine. "She'd tell me to stop making a fuss and get back to work," he joked. In a social media post, "But I think she'd be proud." His relationship life also found calmer waters. After a previously difficult and public breakup, Rick kept his private life quieter, but sources close to him say he's happier now, grounded, and focused on surrounding himself with genuine support rather than drama. Meanwhile, back at the mine, Rick made a bold decision to invest in a reclamation project. Rather than just chasing gold and leaving scars, he began working on plans to restore parts of the land once the season wrapped. "We take from the earth," he told his crew. "Let's also give something back." For longtime fans, this full-circle journey from rookie to crew leader, from collapse to comeback, felt like something rare, real growth, not manufactured drama. And what lies ahead? According to hints dropped in postseason interviews, Rick isn't done yet. He's looking at new claims and might even mentor upcoming miners on or off camera. There's also talk of a documentary-style spin-off where Rick dives deeper into the emotional and environmental realities of mining, offering more than the usual pan shots of gold in the sluice box. So, he's also working on a book tentatively titled Out of the Pit, where he shares his unfiltered story not just of gold mining, but of personal resurrection. Early excerpts suggest the book will be as raw and unvarnished as Rick himself. "I'm not a hero," Rick says. "I messed up. I fell apart. But I put myself back together. And if that helps even one person feel like they can get up too, then all of this was worth it." As the next mining season looms, fans are eager to see what's next, not just in ounces, but in Rick's evolution. He's no longer just a character on a reality show. He's a man with a mission, digging not only for gold, but for meaning, for connection, and for peace. Ness may have disappeared once, but now that he's found his footing again, it's clear he's not going anywhere. And as he steps forward into a new era, stronger, more self-aware, and more determined, one thing is certain: Ness hasn't just survived the gold rush, he's redefined it.